video, I'm going to show you how to prepare your fabric, lay your pattern, and then pin it and cut. Let's see what we need. You need lots of dot pins. You need a fabric marker. You need your scissors, fabric cutting scissor. And the optional thing is you need a tracing wheel and graphite paper. This becomes very handy, so if you are someone who uses paper patterns, I highly suggest that you buy these two and keep. How do we decide on the fabric before we fold? Before that, whenever you buy any fabric, first if you are using it for yourself or even if it is for orders, best practice is wash it and iron it really well. In this way, you are getting rid of the shrinkage, anything which can happen ahead of time before you cut, because after that you don't want to stitch and then cut and then having to see that your fabric is bulging away in different places or your garment itself became shorter. Okay, before we fold, what do we need to do? Look at your fabric, take your fabric and stretch it to see which side it stretches more. Now look at this fabric, stretch, you can stretch it really well, okay? You can stretch it really well, and this way it stretches but it's not that much, okay? So that means the side which stretches really well, you will want it to drape around your body. So in this fabric, it is stretching this way. So I have folded my fabric into two in such a way that my skirt which goes around goes along that side. How much fabric we need? How to decide? This is a 60-inch width fabric. Fabrics comes in different widths. So what you need for 60 inches will be different than how much fabric you will need for 45 inches. So for this one, for this skirt, for this pattern which you have on Goneedle, if you are to cut, you will need 2¼ yards of fabric if it is 60 inches and 2½ yards if it is 45 inches. I'm going to first show you how to place your fabric on, how to place your paper pattern onto fabric on a 60-inch width fabric. So you have folded your fabric into two. Now, before we place it, there is one thing which I want you to look at, which is the grain line. How do you place your paper pattern keeping the grain line in mind? In some videos you would have heard grain line will be parallel to the selvage, but if you are to really think about it, what if your stretch line is perpendicular to your selvage? So the easy way to remember is your grain line should be parallel to your fold line. To wherever you fold, your grain line should be parallel to that. Now let's get started with placing your paper pattern onto paper. Before we do that, before we mark our lines, first thing you have to decide is what size you are going to cut this skirt into. Today I am going to make size large. Take your overview and see size large correlates to yellow color, so you will be using the yellow line today. Either you can fold or tracing paper. I'm going to use tracing paper today. This one, it says center, fold on center. So we are going to keep it here because the fold is in this side. Okay. And add couple pins. When you're adding pins, remember to keep it way inside your paper pattern. Another thing, you don't have to leave sewing allowance, because this pattern comes with sewing allowance. To know how much, refer to this the overview. in the skirt pattern. Okay, that is done. And now we are going to place, even though I am going to be making a size large, I am going to keep the length which is for extra large because I want it longer. And this time also, again, when you're adding the pin, keep it inside and away from the yellow line, because you need to put your tracing paper, graphite paper under that to trace your design. One more thing, when you're folding, remember to fold good sides facing each other. I forgot to mention that in the beginning. Good sides have to face each other. Now we need to place this. Remember to align it along the grain line. So this looks, if you are not sure, this is how you would make sure that it is aligned with the grain line. Starting from your fold, measure how many inches. This is 14.75. This is way less, so we're going to turn this a little bit. There you go. You are well within the grain line, is parallel to your fold line. Okay, I'm going to put it like this. Keep it closer because so that you don't have to waste any fabric. Okay, that's done, and let's put the pins, remembering to keep it away from the yellow line. If you are not using the graphite paper, what you can do is you can go ahead, take your fabric marker and then mark the lines, which I will show you in a bit when we are cutting. Again, along the keep it away from the yellow line. Okay, now how to trace. Take your graphite paper, put it under the markings, take your tracing wheel and one more thing you must mark is, if you can, if you take your design, when you take a close-up look, you will see notches which will help you when you are sewing your garment. You must mark those notches with the graphite marker. So now there is a notch, so I am going to stop there, go across and mark that, and all along you should Remember, in some patterns when they sell, you might not have sewing allowance. In that case, you need to leave space for that. In this case, of course, we have the sewing allowance, so you don't have to worry. But depending on the complexity of the design, it might be decided whether to keep the sewing allowance and make the pattern or not. Okay, that I'm not going to mark because I'm going to so like this you will mark around all the yellow lines, and then I will show you once it is marked how to pin your fabric to cut.